Greetings and hello to all of Montana companies and exporters and trade and business experts. We are delighted that you're all here today. And thank you also to the Montana Department of Commerce for giving us this opportunity to talk to you all about effective online business development tools that we hope can be of assistance and a helping hand in these rather curious times that we're all in. So we really appreciate that you've all taken the time to log on with us today and join us and find out more about international websites, localized websites, e-commerce programs, online marketing that can help you reach new markets and grow your brand and business internationally. For today's session, please be aware that everybody be muted while during the presentation. But if you've got questions, we would really like you to have some questions. Drop them in the chat box and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. We also have a couple of polls during the presentation. There are 3 or 4 polls during the presentation. And again, we'd really welcome your participation in that. And I have also added 2 handouts on infographics on particular markets. I chose them slightly at random, well, perhaps random. I thought they might be of interest to you in Montana. One of them is on Canada, and the other one, completely random one I chose, was South Korea. So there you go, Canada and South Korea online environment. We'll talk to you about those a little bit later during the presentation. I think we should probably start, though, with introducing ourselves. So my name is Susanna Hardy, and I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. So I get involved in projects when it comes to things like search engine optimization and keywords, and any kind of content you have for websites, for international websites, localization of the websites, and marketing. And I'm really delighted to be joined by Samantha Sofici, our Senior Business Development Manager at IBT Online. Samantha has an absolute wealth of experience for companies looking to build their brand development internationally, globally, looking at websites, online marketing. She has endless good cheer and patience with questions and is always happy to drop everything and hop on the phone if she can't actually meet you face to face. We're really, really delighted to be joined by Angelyn DeYoung. I'm sure most of you know her already, International Trade Manager for the Montana Department of Commerce. And Angie is an absolutely tireless advocate for Montana companies. She works incredibly hard to increase Montana's exports and help the companies of the state grow their business and succeed internationally and domestically. A very quick word then also about us as a company. IBT Online stands for International Business Technologies. We've been around quite a while, since 2002. And we are 100% focused on delivering online solutions, that's online tools like websites, like online marketing, like e-commerce platforms, to companies who are looking to build their brand globally. So we're a US company, we're a private company. We have offices in various parts of the world, and we have, the office looks a bit like the United Nations, all kinds of people here, because we want to have real native speakers, native people who help with the marketing in certain markets. But we're all mostly, the most defining characteristic is we're all very much on the online side, on the digital side of business development. So that's us in a nutshell. And we're delighted also to be partnering with the state of Montana to help you with any websites and online marketing questions that you might have, and deliver the online global programs which we've developed with the state of Montana. And Samantha will talk to you about that a bit later. So in our agenda today, we thought we'd split things up into sort of 6 big categories. We're going to start off with Angie talking to you a little bit about what the state is doing to help Montana companies. And then we're going to dive down into sort of why we think Montana exporters could need localized websites, could benefit from localized websites. Then we're going to talk about the general development tools, online business development tools that are available for you as exporters and as companies. And then how some case studies and how you can use localized websites. And then, as I said, the Montana online global programs. And then finally, questions. So please give us your questions. And with that, I'm going to just turn to Angie and ask Angie to sort of present a little bit. Angie?
Thanks, Susanna. I appreciate everyone hopping on, especially those of you who hopped on last minute. I'm with the Montana Department of Commerce. Our program, I'm the International Trade Manager of the program Export Montana, and it is our job to help Montana companies sell their products outside the US. And a couple of things that we do for that is we help with some technical assistance, advising you on the right markets to look at, how to get into those markets. And then we also provide the Montana STEP grant, and it's funded by the Small Business Administration, the SBA. We get a grant every year, and then we turn it around and we grant it out to companies as a cost share, a reimbursement for your export marketing activities. And those activities can include trade shows, foreign language translation, working with the U.S. Commercial Service, international patents, international any of those programs, and not the least of which is website globalization. And one of the resources that we've partnered with on that is IBT Online. And so they have helped us put together this Montana Online Global program. And as of October 1st, the program will now be reimbursed up to $6,000 at the rate of 75%. So we hope that based on what you learned today, if you want to move forward with that and you work with IBT Online, you can talk to me specifically. You've got my contact information there about the STEP grant program and how it can help you. I think that's all for me, Susanna.
That's terrific, Angie, and I'm sure there'll be some questions at the end as well. If anyone has any questions, reach out to Angie. You've got her phone number and email there as well. And I'm sure you all probably know Angie already as a familiar, helpful face. So we're going to talk now and move along and talk a little bit about why do exporters need localized websites, and what are they? Why do we think we need them, and what are they for us? And so we talk to a lot of companies. We talk to a lot of companies who are looking internationally, looking to build their business. And the last 6-8 months, this year, we've really been struck by no matter where the companies are coming from, no matter what sector they're in, there are 4 big concerns they seem to have at the moment. Obviously, looking after their employees and sort of health is one. Managing cash and cash flow costs is clearly uppermost in mind as well. The whole idea of supply chains, relocation, existing partnerships is right up there in forefront. But I guess for us, and where we step in as a service provider, is that 4th priority that we're hearing from companies is how do we generate sales? How do we build our exports back up? How do we do exports in today's new world? How do we generate new business and maintain our existing business? And that's sort of where we come in, and that's where that's our sort of expertise and knowledge base. And I guess for us, the solutions are really technological. They're really online, and I wanted to share this sort of chart with you of sort of January 2020, just how many people are online at the moment. So the population of the world is like 7.5 billion or something like that. So 60% of us in the world's population are online. And that doesn't just mean sort of, have internet access. No, that means going online pretty well every day, because the average amount of time per person is nearly 7 hours a day. So 4.5 billion people are spending 7 hours a day on the internet, and it's growing. It's growing quite a lot. It's if you look at that, it grew by 7% last year. 300 million people. That's pretty well the same size as the population of the United States. Note that the number of people on active social media users is growing even faster. It's growing at 9%. So again, these are more and more people coming online, more and more people using social media, and more and more on mobile phones in particular. What are they all doing online? Well, one of the major things they're doing is communicating. So we said the average length of time online is 7 hours. something like 3 hours a day out of that 7. So sorry, nearly half. So 3 hours, I think 20 minutes, something like that. Out of those 7 hours is spent communicating online using social media. I think that this is actually good news. This is good news for Montana companies. You know exactly where your clients are. You know where their prospects are, your future employees, your suppliers, your prospects, your future, everyone is all online. And you know how to reach them. You can reach them through social media and through your website. And in these current times, this new online, new normal that we have, these tools have become incredibly important, we feel, and really, one has to get really in front of them in order to build and maintain sales growth in the current environment. Now, for us as well, it's important to point out that online is for everybody. It's not just for B2C companies. B2B companies sometimes can be a little bit standoffish because they say, well, we just developed this, we're engineers and we have this wonderful product. It sells itself. But we find, all right, but have you tried having a really good website? Have you tried reaching out internationally with a website, with social media? You'd be surprised at the results. Nearly 100% of B2B purchases are researched before contacting a sales rep or a distributor. That one. And 70% of the searches start with something very generic like CRM software rather than a specific brand. So if you're not really on top of your game on the international side, on the domestic side, you won't be found. You just won't be participating in those searches. So for us, just to, I asked that question at the beginning, why do exporters need localized websites? In a nutshell, you need localized websites because the world is online. So everybody that you are trying to reach is online. And you need to prepare for this new online normal. It's not going away. It's more online than ever. So effective online business development tools allows you to be found, to be understood, to do business with your clients, your prospects, and future prospects. So that allows you to grow your business. Now, I'm going to really turn now to some drill down into what we mean by some of that and look at some of the online business development tools. Basically, let's make it real simple. There are basically two. There are basically two types of online business development tools. There are websites and there's online marketing. Websites can be e-commerce enabled or not. They can look like little tiny brochures, or they can have a lot of bells and whistles with separate private logins and all kinds of things. Online marketing is search engine optimization. It can be social media marketing. It can be a lot of different things. But basically, it's online marketing and websites. That's it. But I think there's something to note about any kind of online tool, any one at all, is always localized. So you could have a US website, your Montana website, and that has to have its own orbit, its own search engine optimization, its own social media, which works well for it. But if you've got fantastic prospects in France and some existing clients in Brazil, they might merit their own websites. You can't attract new prospects from a US website if you're targeting France. You need a French website for that. They all can be hooked back into your US website. They can be linked back in, and they should be. They should have brand consistency, but they deserve their own orbits, their own SEO, their own social media, their own websites, to be effective to drive your business. And the reason for this is that everything online is always customer-centric. It's searcher-centric. It puts the searcher at the heart of the question. So, in the past, you could get a sort of a one-on-one, a bilateral relationship, as it were, with prospects. Today, your prospects are looking everywhere. Your customers are looking at competitors, at your company, at other companies. And they want what they want, when they want, how they want it, they're at the center of it. And it's your job, if you're in sales and marketing, in sales, it's your job to make sure that you somehow influence in a positive way those little black arrows that go customer to customer or customer to company. put your hand up above the parapet, make sure your company is visible and can be interacted with. And for that, you need something that's called localized. Localized basically means, well, it stems really from the way that the internet is organized. The best example I can give you here is just Google. It's the largest search engine in the world, but all search engines, YouTube, Facebook, they're all organized in the same way. Google US, the Google you go on in Montana is different from the Google someone in Germany goes on. They go to google.de. Guess what? It's in German. And google.de will rank and show them results according to what's important to them sitting in Germany. If your Montana website doesn't have the things that are relevant for that German prospect, that German prospect won't be shown your website by Google. You'll be, on page 20 or something, invisible pretty well. So when you're thinking about Google and thinking about all search engines, the whole way that the internet works, think of it as regional, think of it as country-specific search engines. Here's an example. Samantha, my colleague, has a large dog. I have a large dog. They both like to bark during webinars. It's embarrassing. So what we did was look around at squeakless dog toys and said, right. So Samantha, who's based in the US, goes to google.com. I'm actually based in the UK at the moment. So I go google.co.uk, different Google, same language. We both put in squeakless dog toys. Samantha gets chewy.com, amazon.com, freedompoolharness.com. I'm in the UK. I get Marks and Bunnies.co.uk. I get amazon.co.uk, different Amazon, or it shows me different things. I get things that are completely different because Google knows that I'm sitting here. Google knows that those companies are relevant for me here in the UK, and that chewy.com is not relevant for me here in the UK. A different way of looking at this is to look at keywords as well. Keywords get really important, especially if you're running ad campaigns. And if you get it wrong, it can be really expensive. So this is an example of the word car. It's a very, very typical word. It's not a strange word. Car in Spanish. You're using auto or coche. If you're using the word auto in Mexico, then you're going to hit 73% of the people searching for car in Mexico. If you're using the word coche in Mexico, you can only hit 27%. In Spain, it's even more flagrant. I mean, only 9% of searches type in the word auto for car. 91% are using coche. So that's a difference as well about different markets using the same language. Websites, therefore, and anything on online marketing are always customer-centric, which means they're localized. I've listed here for you the 10 criteria that make up a localized website or a localized online marketing. These are for websites in particular. Note that translation is 1 out of 10 criteria. So registering the right domain name, for example, .co.uk. Hosting optimally, nearby in other words. Regulatory requirements, GDPR, things like that. All of those are an integral part of localizing a website and making sure that search engines find you relevant in that market. Language is, as I said, language is almost the easy part of it all. Here's an example of an Australian website for a company that we host we manage their website, and it's an Australian website. They want to have, it's for Australia. They want all their people, it's dedicated to Australia. They want all their people coming to that website to be from Australia. And out of the 3,600 clicks they had, visitors they had to their website over the last month, 3,100 of them came from Australia. 500 came from New Zealand. And then the rest are like, serendipitously finding them. So 98% of the visitors to that website were from that specific dedicated market. So that's a localized website that's working well. It's a localized website for Australia, and it's proving its worth. It is for Australia. I'm going to talk now about buyer personas, but I'd like my colleague Samantha to join me on this. Samantha, do you want to join me on this?
Yes, thanks, Susanna. So as HubSpot themselves define it, a buyer persona is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer based on market research and real data about your existing customers. So the point about defining your buyer persona is that it allows you you're always reaching out to the right person at the right time with the right message, so that it saves you time and resources for your company. And this is a great example from Zipcar. They have such a clear idea of who their buyer persona is or their target that they included it in their mission statement. So their buyer persona would be somebody who's urban, educated, tech savvy, and environmentally conscious. And the example of the Instagram post completely speaks to that. So the picture shows two young urban people that look environmentally conscious because they're holding plants. And Zipcar actually goes a step further in using appropriate hashtags like back to school, plants, and hashtag dorm life. So if you don't know who your buyer personas are, one of the best ways you can get started is get your sales team involved. Who have they been selling to? What does your customer base currently look like? This will give you a head start to define who your buyer persona is, and you can start marketing to them. But what's important to note is that your international buyer personas can, and they probably should, differ from your domestic buyer personas. On this slide, there's a few questions you could ask yourself, like, are there multiple buyer personas for my export markets? How do they find me? What do they care about? How do they like to purchase from me or interact with me? L'Oreal is frequently cited for how spot on they are for their international marketing. So if you look at this picture in the text, L'Oreal is assuring US stylists that they're trying to support them while we're socially distancing ourselves, and the majority of stylists are closed. They know that a number of their stylists are small businesses or self-employed, and they're really feeling the effects of COVID, and they wanted to show their support, and they did it through their website. But if we look at the Australian site, the message is completely different. There's no mention of COVID-19, but instead a focus on the climate. This is most likely due to the horrible fires that Australia suffered in the beginning of the year, and that's what mattered to them at that point. Then in the last example, L'Oreal is demonstrating to Brazilian consumers that they are doing their part to help the people of Brazil in these difficult times by producing hand sanitizer, which is something that they don't normally produce, to support the communities that need it the most. So each buyer persona is clearly different, and L'Oreal's messaging is respectful of that. So on the next slide is a great example of how different buyer personas interact with social media campaigns. This is a great example from a Facebook campaign where we were promoting the same product with very similar imagery and message, although of course localized for each market. So that we were staying relevant to the local audience. So if we take a look at the results for this specific post, for the UK, over 1,200 engagements, and we were super pleased with it. We were actually really excited. But then we looked at Mexico, and we were blown away with 20,000 engagements, which is huge. So if we stopped our analysis at this point, we could infer that the Mexico campaign worked better. Well, not necessarily. So on the next slide, we'll take a look at the full buyer's journey, and we'll get a much better picture of what was going on. So you need to know how each market specifically reacts to social media, and so that you can take a look at the numbers in a much more educated and a much more knowledgeable way. So for Mexico, for example, we know that the market engages easily. They're incredibly reactive and responsive, unlike the more kind of frosty Brits. So, but if you look at the actual conversions, so that's the important bit for companies, as it indicates how many actually went out and bought or asked for a quote, the numbers are actually pretty similar. So it's that yellow and green bar graph that you see there. We know from experience that you need to get those levels of engagement in Mexico to get a good level of conversion, which means sales. However, in the UK, less engagement doesn't necessarily mean lower sales. So each market is specific, and you need to take into account those market specifics. So having an idea of your buyer persona is absolutely key to really understanding what's going on with your online presence.
Samantha, thank you so much. I want to launch a quick poll just to ask people, sort of ask our Montana companies what kind of markets and where they're looking at. And I have to apologize in advance. I was only given 5 possible ones that you can click on. So there's this, like the last one says other, and it's like half the world, India, Middle East, and Africa. But I tried also to say, which are the areas, which are the countries that are most likely to be of interest to you. I hate to say it, but some of you are clicking on the other. I should have detailed that more. But good to see if there's quite a few of you clicking on the other. There's a lot of interest in Canada. There's a lot of interest in Europe, and then a lot of interest in the other. And I'm wondering if that's India, Middle East, Africa. And I wish I had put it out more, but I haven't. Thank you very, very much for that first poll. There will be a couple of other polls coming up, and thank you for that. And I'm going to close the poll. There we go, and move on. We wanted also now just to talk a little bit about how, excuse me, how do exporters use localized websites? And Samantha, do you want to do this slide, or shall I do this slide?
Yeah, I would be happy to do it. So what we do is we build and manage international websites and international online marketing. But these websites can come in all shapes and sizes, and there's different motivations for companies to get international websites. We've listed here some of the most common ones, for example, lead generation or brand awareness. But to summarize, the localized websites and localized online marketing means giving a local user experience to your prospects and clients, which we'll see in the case studies after this. But just to show you guys the map on the left, Montana is one of the 25 states that we're really proud to serve. But we'll go into further detail about the programs for you Montana exporters in a minute.
Thanks, Samantha. I wanted to show then some case studies of companies that are sort of not too far and hopefully ring a bell with you all. So this is a company called Advanced Super Abrasives, and they make grinding wheels for the lumber industry, but also for the aeronautics sector, for the automobile sector, and so on. And what was interesting for them was, they're very much a traditional B2B company. And as the CEO of the company, Jonathan Sooks, says here in his quote, 75% of their sales involve some kind of face-to-face. And they would, the salesman would get up, get in their car, drive to their prospect, talk about the grinding wheels, and get the orders. Or they'd go on a plane, they go to trade shows. And when COVID happened earlier this year, they were very, very quick to react and said, right, we need websites now. This globalization thing, this website globalization is really important. It's the only way we're going to be able to reach out to our prospects and to our companies. And they were very quick on the mark on that and really pushed the websites up. So I wanted to show you that to give you some encouragement to say, look, it can be done, and it can be done quickly, and in a very in a way that's right, seamless for your management. To get good online tools within a very short period of time to help your sales force reach out to their clients and their prospects. The next company I wanted to highlight really is a company that we've been working with for a couple of years, and they basically add 2 new little websites, international websites, a year. And I think we're doing about 7 or 8 of them at the moment. But they add 2 a year. And what's interesting here, I think, is that they, as a company, as a business model, they have a lot of different verticals. They have a lot of different buyer persona. They make paper cutters, by the way. They sell to primary school teachers, butchers, florists, art suppliers. They sell to lots and lots, and they sell this via just different types of distributors. There's 2 big things that this company wanted. They wanted 3 really. They wanted their websites to be a really strong support for their existing distributors, so that their distributors in those markets could use the websites and help market and help show people and say, these are the products, and sort of use it as a springboard to drive sales in their international markets. The second was actually to build, to get more distributors and to identify distributors. And so, there's a become a distributor right there in the middle of the top line menu. That was very important for them, and they've managed to find new distributors through this. And the third part also was actually quite interesting. I think something we've seen quite a few companies. They wanted to have some visibility on their end clients. At the moment, the distributor picks up all their leads and then gives a generalized order back to Bullman Products. And Bullman really said, I want to know who my end client are. That way I could build up a database, I could do some marketing, I could have a view on who the end client is over time, and that would be good for my brand. So I don't always have a distributor in between. Distributor is an important part, but I get some visibility. And the website allowed them to do that because now the orders go through the website. So this is one step towards an e-commerce site as well. It's an e-shop with international shipping, sort of a halfway house for e-commerce. It's an easy e-commerce step with very light international websites to go with it. If you want to learn more about that, we have some downloads of videos from Anne, the CEO and co-owner of the company, on our website, and she explains it in her words as opposed to my words. The next company I wanted to highlight is a rather tech company. They make very high quality, high tech, high spec products that are dedicated to the avionics industry. So they're very hard hit at the moment. But I think what's interesting was that they had really good in-market agents that they used for big markets like China, Mexico, Brazil. But it was clear to them that their agents, even if they were very persistent and innovative and all that, they weren't always up to par what it was needed with regards to the engineering side. So they wanted websites that would really help them to showcase their products, the technology of their products, and the sophistication of it. And that worked really, really well. Just by having, I believe within 3 months, something like that, of the China website going live, they got one of the biggest orders they've ever had, and have managed to double their export sales within the space of 18 months since putting up these websites. And again, this is a company that adds 2 websites every year on a very regular basis. Actually, occasionally adds a few more when they can. I think the other point to add with them is that they chose the big markets like China, like Brazil, where they said these are markets where if you don't have a website, the end client wonders whether you're really, really committed to that market. Do you really care about China? You don't have a website here for me. I can't understand it. It's all in English. The Chinese prospective buyer is not enchanted. If you've got a Chinese website, it really works well. I can see it. It's hosted in China. It really works well. Then you must care about my market. You're committed to being here. You're committed to long-term investment in this market. Then I'm happier to buy from you. So your buyer persona builds the trust needed for that buyer's journey. And again, if you wanted to have more information on that, there's a Hugo talking in his own words on our website for that. The last example I wanted to show you was a company called AMSOIL. They make synthetic motor oil. Actually, their headquarters not too far from you guys, just the other side of the border. And they sell via distributors across the world. And they realized that it was really important to have a differentiation in their brand, because otherwise someone comes in and says, I want motor oil. And they would just go by price. And AMSOIL says, no, get synthetic motor oil. It's a better product, better for your car or your motorbike or whatever. And synthetic motor oil, AMSOIL, they wanted to marry those two in terms of brand recognition. And so they decided to build a series of websites, which are all a little bit different, a little bit customized, localized. And you can see, for example, this is the French one that I'm showing now. Obviously it's in French, but it's got a French car in it too. And it's the look and feel of it, it's still on brand, it's still the right one, it's still there to drive leads to the distributors and grow the brand, but there's a strong French feel to it. If you're in Brazil or Latin America, you might want to choose something a bit different, and your imaging might be different. And although again it's brand consistent, your message is a little bit different because you're thinking about your brand and your buyer persona. So those are a couple of big examples I wanted to show you. But now I think I'm going to turn back to Samantha to talk about the Montana Online Global programs.
Yes, thanks, Susanna. So first, I want to talk to you guys about our website localization options. And that's what we pretty much covered today with a little bit of e-commerce and international online marketing to the mix. So our first option is option A, which is a 2-market expansion with a limited scope, so 12 web pages and 2,000 words each. So by the end of option A, you'll have 2 websites that are completely localized for your top 2 target markets. So for example, one for India or Canada in this example, and one for Mexico. And these websites will be based off of your US site, but we will go through a whole localization process, including proper domain names, local hosting, SEO keyword research, industry-specific translators, regulatory compliance, and so much more. So by having these websites, they will help you be found, be understood, and be easier to do business with in your top target markets. In terms of budget, option A costs $12,000, but Montana has a $6,000 grant available to use towards these services for qualifying companies. Then the second option for website localization is option B. And option B is anything above and beyond the scope of work that you see for option A. So maybe the company is looking for a website redesign, or maybe you want to add more content, more pages. Maybe you want only one country, but a huge scope of work. Then option B would best suit you. So the budget for option B is completely dependent on the scope of work. But equally, like our option A, there is state funding available from Montana to help companies with the cost. So options A and B have grant money available.
Samantha, I'd like to just ask the Montana companies if they have an interest in learning more about localized websites, and particularly either about option A or option B. If you want to have some more information on that, if you'd like to learn more about the grants or more details about the scope of work and so on, let us know, and we'll get back to you by email or whatever, or select a time that suits either for option A or option B. I am absolutely delighted by the response on that. Thank you very much indeed. Really, really delighted on that. Thank you very much. We will be circling back to you in due course for that. Thank you. I'm going to close that poll and get back to Samantha. We can talk about the other options.
Yes, okay, so then our next 2 options are option C and option E. So option C has to do with international online marketing. So once you have a localized website, whether it's for informational purposes, lead generation, or e-commerce, which I'll talk about in a second, we always suggest that you do some international online marketing to help support it. So whether you guys do it yourselves or you ask us to help you out, option C is there to help you in search engine marketing, social media marketing, and reporting and analytics. We aim to be kind of like your in-house, out-house marketing team to help market you and your top 2 target markets or your top market. So that is option C, and there is the grant available for well. And then it has to do with e-commerce, and this is actually a new program of ours that we're really excited about. And if you're interested in having your own e-commerce platform, so in this example, Vapor Pins is a US company, but they were really interested in having an e-commerce platform with a payment gateways, and goes with an e-commerce platform for Brazil started. And we have this program, so depending on your scope, so whether we have programs for companies that have 100 products to 300 to 500 and more. And the budget definitely depends on how many SKUs, pages, products that you have. So if you're interested in either of those programs, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm pretty sure there's also step funding for this as well. So if you have questions about that, then Angie is definitely the person to talk to.
Samantha, let me just ask, I mean, pretty similar, really. I just want to ask Montana companies if they have an interest in learning more about online marketing, if they're learning more about e-commerce options, you know, and the grants that are available, the programs that are available for you in Montana, then let us know, and we'd be very happy to just go back to you at due course. And again, I'm really pleased to see the results. Thank you very much indeed about that. Well, I'm going to close that poll, and we've got a couple of questions in as well, Samantha. So I'm going to move on to sort of takeaways and Q&As for that. So takeaways, I guess for us, you know, the big takeaway really, if we can, is that just to say, you know, there's this new normal, as people are now calling it, this new online normal for us. And it's really accelerated a lot of the trends we've seen in the last couple of years. It's just propelled the whole online world very much into the limelight. I mean, if you look at the number of people using Zoom, the number of people using e-commerce, you know, e-commerce went up by over 30% in the USA, you know, a very mature market in the last few months. And these are not habits that are going away. These are habits that are here to stay. So for us, it's really important for companies, and we think it's a very worthwhile thing to have strong business development online tools. And those basically are websites and online marketing. Whether those websites are e-commerce enabled or not, it's a different matter, but websites and online marketing. And the message for us is the online world is always localized. So you cannot reach your prospects in an effective way just by having a Montana website. You need to have more tools in the toolbox. So if you're targeting Saudi Arabia, then you need something that's hosted in Saudi Arabia, in Arabic, and so on. So, you know, localized websites allows you to get found and to be understood and do business in these international markets. So, but we have a bunch of questions, and I'm going to turn to that now. Oh, takeaways as well. I said earlier, there are these handouts, there are infographics, one's on Canada and one's on South Korea. But we've also got ones on China, Germany, the UK, France. You know, let us know the main markets that you have interest in, and we can get you the information that you will need or have an interest in. We've done a lot of work on these individual markets. But I'm going to turn to questions now, and there's a couple of them. I'm picking them slightly randomly. I think I'm going to ask, actually I'm going to ask Angie one of the first ones, which is just, how do you apply and what are the eligibility criteria? I guess for the step grants or for the online global programs, Angie? How do you apply and what are the eligibility criteria?
Well, you have to be a for-profit business that fits the SBA's definition of a small business, which I've only run one entity in Montana that did not qualify. So, and that was a hospital in Kalispell. So you're probably pretty good there. And the way that you apply is you could literally Google Montana Step Grant and we should be the first thing that comes up there. If we don't, we need Samantha's help on that. But Montana Step Grant, I think it's marketmt.com, that / thing, step should get you there as well. But if you, my email is around there somewhere. If you just send me an email or give me a call, we can talk more about the about the grant, but it's really easy. And if you work with Samantha on the program, she can also get you help get you connected to that.
Terrific. And I apologize. I think I've neglected to put your email on this slide. I put it on the introduction slide. I didn't on this one. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. I'll throw
anyway,
it in the chat.
You throw it in the chat box. Everyone gets it then. Samantha, I have a question also about distributors, which is that there's a company here who says, well, we have a very active distributor, and why don't they do all this?
Yeah,
they do all this, I guess, websites and online marketing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And that is wonderful that you have such an amazing distributor that, you know, is willing and able to do that. But we always suggest in best practice and just for your own company protection to do it yourself. Because what if your distributor, what if your relationship doesn't go so well, or something changes, or if you just want control over your products and your messaging, that's absolutely key. So we always suggest that you create your websites, you do your marketing, but you can always funnel the leads back to your distributor. We aim to make your localized websites and online marketing to be an extra marketing and sales tool for your distributors. So if anything, it's going to help them. And also when we are creating the, if you have a great distributor that you trust, we can include them in the process of creating websites too, because they know your buyer persona better than us. So if they can help us with choosing content or reviewing a translation, then we absolutely welcome that as well.
First of all, Angie, thank you very much for dropping those things into the chat box. You've got Angie's email, her telephone number, and the website, so that you can all have that. Samantha, for option A, for example, or actually any of the options, but option A, the 2 website option, what is the average maintenance cost that you could expect annually?
Good question. So for option A, it is $40 per month per website. So it comes out to, if you do option A, it comes out to less than $1,000 a year. And we will keep the websites up and running, the CMS, the hosting. We will make sure to maintain your websites, and you'll have access to our technical team 24/7. So if you have an issue, if you want anything changed, you can just access them via a project management tool that we use called Teamwork. And that's what's also included in the website management program.
Yeah, and worth perhaps also mentioning, all plugins are updated automatically as part of that cost. There's another question as well about content, and Samantha, if you want to take it as well. I'm sorry, I'm just feeling the questions here. On content, if we're unsure of what content we should have for the international websites, can you help out there?
Yes, absolutely. So as you saw in our introductory slide, we've delivered over 1,500 online global programs, and that included websites that have hundreds and hundreds of pages, and we've minimized them down to 12 for the necessary market. So we can absolutely help you determine what content is vital for your target markets. Actually, Susanna plays a really big role in that. She's not willing to toot her own horn, but I can definitely brag for her. She does a wonderful job, and she would be happy to help you kind of figure out what content is relevant for that market. And that's also a case where your distributor can help as well.
Just another question, a technical one, and again, Samantha, if you're if you're like, I'm bored of these questions, sling back me. But if you can, there's difficulties about buying domain names for some markets. You talk about domain names.
Yeah, part of the process for the Montana Online Global Program, we will help you purchase the domain names for those specific markets. There are markets that have more strict regulations, like you either need a passport number or a local address, but there are ways to get around it. We can do subdomains or subfolders. So our technical team will be absolutely happy to help you in that aspect of localized.
Okay. One other technical question, which CMS platform do you use?
Yes, so
okay, you answer.
I'm on a roll. I got it.
Good.
Yeah, so for the CMS, we like to use two CMS systems. One of them is WordPress and the other one is Expression Engine. Lately, we've been leaning more towards WordPress just because a lot of companies use that for their US presence already, making it really easy to train them on the international sites as well.
Yeah, I'd say we are platform agnostic, however, but we don't mind, but those seem to be, it's worth maybe mentioning that some CMSs don't work very well internationally. They don't perform well with different alphabets or in different markets and so on. So one does have to be a little bit careful there. But indeed, great. I think that sort of wraps it up, unless there are other questions there. We wanted to thank Angie in particular and the whole Montana Department of Commerce for helping us out here and for getting us an audience, and we're delighted to be able to talk to Montana companies. We do hope that this has been of use and of interest to you. And for those of you who have requested more information, we will be getting back to you, in due course for that. And we look forward to seeing you all online and maybe hopefully in person. That would be fun. That would be great. Wouldn't that be a relief? Thank you all so much for attending today and for being here with us, and reach out if we can help in any way. In the meantime, happy exporting, happy business, stay safe, stay well, and see you all soon, we hope. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, Angie. Bye, Samantha. Thank you. Bye-bye.